The governor of North Carolina issued a state of emergency as people line up for blocks just to get gas, as some stations are reportedly already out of fuel. This all comes after a cyber attack forced the Colonial pipeline to shut down, which supplies about half the East Coast fuel supply. The FBI says a Russian cyber group, DarkSide, is to blame. Dr. Scott Jasper, who is an expert on all things cyber, joins me now to discuss. He's a lecturer in the National Security Affairs Department at the Naval Postgraduate School and author of Russian Cyber Operations. Perfect man to talk to about this. Dr. Jasper, thanks so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
So I think for a lot of people, it's surprising that this could happen in a way that has such immediate and far-reaching effects. First off, the Biden administration's been saying, well, this is a private sector organization or private sector control, so really their cyber's on them. What kind of cyber attack do we think this is? I mean, what kind of safeguards are in place? What can you tell us about how we believe this went down?
Right, Buck. Well, as you said, it's a private organization. In the United States, 85% of critical infrastructure is owned by private industry, which makes it more complicated for the government to protect these systems, since the emphasis is on the entity itself to instill the proper cyber hygiene in order to prevent these sort of attacks. The fact that it occurred on critical infrastructure should not necessarily be a surprise, because this is the perfect target for a cyber attack using ransomware, in that it is a continuity of operations opportunity, in that Colonial would be tempted to pay a ransom in order to regain access to their files and to their systems in order to restart their operations. So many times these attackers get quick payouts from vulnerable organizations that depend on services for their business. And lately we've been seeing that a lot with schools and hospitals through the pandemic, with the need to pay to continue operations.
Now, I don't know what degree of specificity we have yet, Dr. Jasper, about this particular ransomware attack, but could this be something as straightforward as these, and we'll get into who's behind this, but this hacker group may have sent some emails with social engineering in them to, hey, I'm your IT administrator, click this for a link. Is it something that's that straightforward, or does it seem like it would have to be a more sophisticated attack?
Well, what we know is that the attack was limited to the IT systems. So that means the administrative section of the company. And if that's the case, then we have people behind those computers. I have not seen clear evidence of how the attack occurred. But as you stated, it could be as simple as clicking on a link, downloading a file, or something that would trigger, with a vulnerability, the installation of the code, the malware itself. The key is how fast ransomware promulgates across a network. It can lock the systems down very quickly. And their ability to stop the spread of the attack, and especially if there was any way it could get to the operational technologies, is very commendable. And that would have been the real challenge. At least now, if they clean up the IT sector, we should be able to see these pipelines get back online.
What kind of precautions, you mentioned cyber hygiene for a company, as you pointed out, a lot of critical infrastructure is in private hands. So at some level, this is up to individual companies, with the government, I'm sure, trying to help in different ways. What can a company really do about this? I mean, if it is as simple as a phishing email with some pretty sophisticated software that allows them to infiltrate quickly throughout the system, is it just training your personnel or their programs? I mean, I guess it's hard for people to fathom that you have one guy maybe working, or gal, working in the IT section of Colonial, and they click on the wrong thing, and now you've got people without access to gasoline at stations all across the East Coast. That feels like that's a pretty rapid onset.
Right. So we have the prevention aspect, as you're alluding to, Buck, where you train the personnel to recognize what could be a malicious email, and to not inadvertently activate access to malware. You also have prevention such as patching of systems so that vulnerabilities are not exploited. But in many cases, what we find is that sophisticated actors, and this group is supposedly a collective of veteran ransomware criminals, so they know the tricks. And if they penetrate, then it's a matter of stopping the attack once it hits the network and quickly, before it rapidly spreads. In some cases, ransomware can take down an entire network in less than a minute if it has the right tools, processes in place. So we need sophisticated defenses in order to counter that. Cloud-centric defenses that leverage data correlation technologies we can use for detection, investigation, and response that act very quickly in order to defeat this type of threat.